Divine Solitude. 7. Miraculous lessons revealed by great philosophers for sacred transformation. The old church stood resolute against the backdrop of a dramatically deepening twilight, casting elongated shadows alongside the ancient graves that marked the village's cherished history. Grace, a devoted single mother, clutched her children's small hands as she approached, heart racing with the weight of burden and brokenness. The echoes of her late husband's laughter lingered in her mind, battling fiercely against the suffocating silence of grief. It was here, in the time-worn sanctuary, that she'd discovered a treasure. Philosophical writings whispering profound truths about solitude, lessons echoing with divine resonance. As she delved into those pages, the room around her flickered with ethereal light. The words sprang forth, revealing visions of solace where even the darkest nights could birth miraculous awakening. But it was more than just ink on paper. She could feel a tangible presence swirling around her, an energy saturating her being with inexplicable warmth and assurance. Could it be God whispering through the ages? Those philosophers were but vessels of his message, guiding her through her profound despair. Yet darkness quickly crept back into her life. Just days later, the doctor's words struck like a thunderbolt, declaring her beloved children ill, their laughter quashed by pain and uncertainty. A sinking despair clawed at her heart like a ravenous beast. Every tick of the clock reverberated through her soul as she cried silently to God, her faith now teetering on the precipice of doubt. Then came the call to action, the pastor's thunderous voice announcing an urgent community prayer vigil, urging everyone to gather under the weighty stone of their ancestral church. Murmurs of hope and skepticism rippled throughout the village. Some clutched their rosaries tighter, while others rolled their eyes in doubt. Grace felt caught in the turmoil. A struggle of faith and skepticism ensued within her. Could her soft supplications truly find resonance among hardened hearts? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Grace arrived at the vigil, the air charged with an unmistakable fervor. Candles flickered in the gathering dusk, casting a heavenly glow that illuminated the faces of her neighbors, unveiling a tapestry of emotions, a mix of worry, hope, and quiet determination. Kneeling among them, Grace felt the quickening of her heart, a call to surrender to a power greater than herself. The atmosphere throbbed with anticipation as she poured her heart into prayer, a fervent cry for healing escaping her lips. In that moment of shared vulnerability, the church transformed. The ambiance shifted like a soft tide washing over them, wrapping the room in heavenly embrace. A gentle warmth flowed through her, igniting the dim embers of hope nestled within her weary soul. All around her, voices lifted harmoniously like a glorious choir in unison, each prayer now entwined, an unstoppable force calling forth divine intervention. As she glanced toward her children, the flames of those candles flickering across their small faces, a primal question bubbled within her, a haunting uncertainty lingering in the air. Would they emerge from this storm in triumph? Or would the shadows of doubt reclaim their hold, snuffing out the light of divine hope? The night hung delicately on the edge of miraculous possibility, poised to transform not only her life, but the very essence of her beloved village. The prayers swelled, a chorus resonating beyond the church walls, reaching into the very heavens. Each word woven together seemed to lift the burdens from their hearts. Grace felt the energy, a pulsating presence, vibrant like the flickering flames around them. This was hope, harnessed through unity. Excitement coursed through her spirit, yet a relentless ache for assurance gnawed at her. In the distance, the deep bell tolled, marking the hour of faith. It called out to all who wandered in doubt and fear. Even those who had come only out of obligation began to sense the stirrings of divine truth, each lingering note softening entrenched skepticism. Grace dared to believe that miracles could sprout from such fertile soil. There came a moment when the pastor raised his hands, beckoning silence. The community fell into hushed reverence, anticipation hanging heavy in the air. The pastor's eyes sparkled, reflecting the candlelight, and he began to speak of God's promises, the unyielding power of prayer, the gift of love, and the boundless grace that transforms the bleakest of situations. His voice boomed through the gathering, igniting sparks of faith as he recounted tales of healing, of rebirth, reminding the villagers of the wonder woven through their shared history. Yet as he spoke, Grace's thoughts flickered back to her children. The shadows of doubt danced at her periphery. Would her pleas be heard? Could her faith shatter the chains of this trial? She squeezed the cool hands of her children, their frail bodies resting on the altar of her hopes. In this sacred moment, each heartbeat felt interwoven with the prayers of those around her, more than a mother's cry, a collective plea for divine miracles. A soft breeze blew through the open doors of the church, carrying with it a whisper that felt almost tangible, brushing against her cheek, a touch of something divine. There it was, a realization creeping onto her heart. She wasn't alone. The hands of many prayed alongside her. With every voice raised, doubt started to slip away, replaced by a determination that burned in her chest. Suddenly, a gentle commotion arose among the congregation. A woman, teary-eyed, stepped forward, her voice trembling yet infused with clarity. "I once stood where you are. I saw my son brought back from the brink through the power of prayer." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Hope ignited again. How could one person's testimony draw forth such collective faith? It felt like a divine thread binding them, weaving their hearts together. Grace watched as the woman shared her story, detailing how she had fought against despair, only to find the mighty strength lodged deep within. The villagers leaned closer, captivated by the account. The tremors of faith surged forward, a wave crashing against the rocks of doubt. It was in that moment, enveloped by the warmth of shared faith, something began to stir within Grace. A small flicker of realization emerged. Perhaps the darkest nights truly did yield the brightest dawns. She envisioned her children laughing, running, playing without fear. A vivid scene painted in the very depths of her soul. But as the night wore on and the prayers poured forth, a resounding echo of doubt laced through the room. What if divine intervention wasn't the answer she sought? What if true transformation began with not only answers, but with acceptance? The thoughts lingered like mist, both alluring and perplexing. As the flickering candles burned low, the congregation lowered their heads once more, a final, passionate prayer rising like incense, grasping for answers. But answers were not so simple. With the pastor's final blessing echoing against the stone walls, Grace felt the soft warmth inside of her begin to flicker, uncertain, yet ready for whatever was to come next. What awaited her on the horizon? The stirring of faith had ignited a journey not just for her children, but for herself as well. With every heartbeat, she could feel the divine mystery whispering anew. All that lingered was a question that hung heavy in the air. Would she embrace the unknown, or would fear extinguish her flickering light of hope? As the prayers faded into the soft glow of twilight, Grace felt a shift inside her. The space felt alive, resonating with the energy of hope and possibility. She stood there, cradling her children, their warmth pushing back the chill of despair that lingered outside those sacred walls. The pastor's voice had faded, but the echo of his words lingered like incense in the air. She sensed the heaviness of collective anticipation, like a balloon filled with unspoken dreams, ready to burst forth. Just beyond the door, the world awaited. Its burdens and challenges waited for weary souls returning from worship. A gentle hand rested on Grace's shoulder, pulling her from her thoughts. It was the woman with the story, a luminary of faith in a sea of uncertainty. "Faith doesn't always mean answers," she whispered, her eyes gleaming with a wisdom that struck a chord deep within Grace's heart. "Sometimes it means trusting in the unseen. You are supported more than you know." Her words pierced the fog of doubt swirling in Grace's mind. She had witnessed miracles, both grand and quiet, in her life and the lives of others. Yet the shadows of uncertainty still whispered sweetly, casting doubt on her heart's desire. Was it too selfish to hope for her children's healing, or did hope intrinsically drive her to believe in something greater? As the congregation began to drift towards the church's exit, Grace held her children tightly. The light of the setting sun poured through the stained glass, casting vibrant colors upon them, a divine reminder of beauty amidst suffering. Each hue danced as though painted by the hands of angels, and she felt the warmth seep deep into her soul. In the moments of silence, her mind wandered like a river seeking the sea. What if she cast her fears aside? What if she allowed herself the grace to embrace the unknown? Her heart pounded with a mix of hope and apprehension. Was she truly ready to leave behind the weight of her worries? The soft rustle of the congregation broke her reverie. They were moving, but she felt anchored. She closed her eyes, inhaling the essence of prayer that still lingered. So fragrant, so potent. If she could just align her spirit with that, could she also find peace? Then another voice, this time a soft lilting sound, floated into her consciousness, a little girl from the congregation. "Mama, look," she called, tugging at the hem of her skirt. "The shadows are dancing." Grace opened her eyes, and her heart softened at the sight. Children were playing near the altar, a game of imagination, their laughter punctuating the air with joy. How simple yet profound. Their faith was pure, unhindered by the trials of life. It sparked an idea in Grace's mind, shimmering like the light through the glass. Perhaps embracing faith was like the dance these children performed. It was about trusting in the rhythm of grace, letting go of control. As the last remnants of daylight faded, Grace turned to the woman, her eyes alight with fiery determination. "I will choose hope," she declared, not only for her children but for herself. "I will bare my heart to the unknown, trusting that love will lead." A joy surged within her, and noticing the flickering candles once more, she knew the night was far from over. The mysterious embrace of possibility loomed large, urging her forward into the dark. In this sacred space, she found her resolve and the courage to step into the unknown, where she could fully embrace the journey ahead. But just then, as the congregation filed into the night air, an unexpected shadow flitted through the corner of her vision. What new revelation awaited her on this path of faith? Would embracing the unknown reveal the truths her heart so desperately craved? The shadow danced on the edge of her vision again, pulling Grace's attention like a moth to a flame. Curiosity wrestled with caution as she stepped forward, guiding her children gently away from the throng of congregants. A murmuring voice echoed softly, barely more than a whisper weaving through the twilight. "Come, follow." A warmth blossomed in her chest, tugging her closer to that fleeting shadow. It was almost magnetic. Grace shared a knowing glance with the woman from earlier, who remained rooted to the spot, her expression a mix of encouragement and mystery. With hesitant steps, Grace turned to where the shadow beckoned. It led her around the side of the church, away from the comforting embrace of familiar faces. The cool night air filled her lungs, awakening her senses. She could hear the leaves rustling as a gentle breeze wove through the branches. The world felt mutable, as if it held secrets just beneath the surface. Heart racing, she pressed ahead, holding her children's hands tightly. As they approached the edge of the churchyard, Grace stopped in her tracks. Before her stood an old oak tree, its twisted branches reaching out like welcoming arms. The tree was ancient, a witness to countless lives and stories. The moon shone brightly near the top, illuminating its gnarled bark. It felt sacred, like a divine sentinel of hope and healing. "Mama, can we go closer?" one of her children asked, wide eyes sparkling with excitement. "Yes," she breathed, her voice a whisper of longing. "Let's see what's there." They stepped forward, the soft grass cushioning their feet, and as they neared the trunk, Grace felt a pulse beneath her skin, a thrum of divine energy radiating from the earth itself. She knelt down, her children following her lead, fingers brushing against the roots. It was like touching the heart of something far greater than herself. In that moment, a revelation washed over her. Grace remembered the stories shared in the church, the verses that danced around her heart, whispering of faith, love, and the unseen threads that connect us all. She could almost hear them in the rustling leaves. The echoes of certainty floated just out of reach, and yet they filled her with a sense of reassurance. "Look, Mama!" her daughter called, pointing to the ground. There, illuminated by the moonlight, lay a delicate flower, blooming defiantly amid the strength of the oak. "It's so beautiful!" Just like those children back in the church, the flower was unafraid. It had chosen to grow in a space where many would doubt its strength. Grace felt a sense of kinship with that little flower, the courage to bloom against all odds. In that moment of stillness, a prayer formed on her lips, an instinctual plea for guidance. "Lord, grant me the strength to stay open like this flower, to trust in the beauty of the unknown." As the words left her heart, a whisper wrapped around her soul with an intimate embrace. "You are never alone," it seemed to say. "Let your faith flow and trust, dear child." With her children pressed against her sides, Grace felt a powerful surge of hope blossoming. Yet as she looked around in wonder, the air shifted, and she noticed something changing in the shadows. The presence she'd felt earlier materialized. A figure emerged, a face, one she'd seen in her dreams. What lay ahead in this new journey of faith? Could this encounter unlock the mysteries she sought? The figure stepped closer, cloaked in the silver light of the moon. As it emerged from the shadows, the familiarity wrapped around Grace like an old quilt. She could hardly believe her eyes. It was the very man from her dreams. Kind eyes, deep and wise, glowing with a celestial light that seemed to emanate from a well of compassion. "Mama, who is he?" her son whispered, curiosity mingling with innocence. I don't know, sweetie," she replied, her voice barely above a breath. Yet, in her heart, she felt she had known him for a lifetime. "Child of the earth," the figure spoke, his voice melodic, resonating deep within her spirit. "You have been drawn here for a purpose. Timelines converge at this very spot where faith and fear intertwine. The oak feels your yearning, and the flower feels your doubt. They are mirrors of your journey." Grace's heart raced, each word bursting with power, each syllable igniting a fire within her. She understood there was wisdom here, lessons that transcended time and age. "What do you want me to learn?" she asked, the plea in her heart bleeding through her voice. His gaze settled on her, gentle yet penetrating. "You must embrace 3 timeless truths, dear one. The first, in silence you will find answers. Allow stillness to cradle your worries. It is here you will hear the whispers of your soul. The second, love is a boundless force. Like the roots of this oak, it stretches and strengthens, binding you to all that is good. And finally, trust the path you walk. Each step leads you closer to your true self." Tears tumbled down Grace's cheeks, unbidden but welcome. These were not just lessons to memorize, but calls to action. She felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over her, coaxing her doubts away like the morning mist. Her children nestled closer, sensing the gravity and warmth of the moment, the radiance that enveloped them like a protective cloak. It was as though the love of the universe pulsed through this encounter, binding them together and enveloping them in sacred connection. "Will I always find you here?" Grace's voice quivered, a mix of hope and vulnerability. The figure smiled knowingly. "Every time you seek within yourself, you will find the essence of me. I am not bound to this form. I am a part of the eternal. Look for me in kindness, in love shared, and in the beauty that arises in the struggle." With each word, shadows around them began to flicker, the edges of the night growing softer. The oak whispered, the flowers swayed, and Grace felt the promise of transformation rising like the dawn breaking through the clouds. "Do not fear the unknown," he added as he began to fade, "for it holds the most precious gifts of growth." And with that, the figure dissolved back into the shadows, leaving behind an essence of warmth and inspiration. Grace remained kneeling, the ground beneath her still throbbing with energy, still hum of life alive all around them. "What just happened, Mama?" her daughter asked, eyes wide in wonder. "A miracle, my love," Grace answered, her heart full. "A miracle and a beginning." As the last whispers of moonlight faded, she took a deep breath, igniting a spark of hope for the journey ahead. But with every revelation came a question pulsing in her heart. What else would the universe reveal to me when I dared to embrace the unknown? The air shimmered with possibility, and Grace knew the path would require courage. What lay ahead remained shrouded in mystery, yet she felt the divine presence ever drawing her forth. Grace remained on her knees, the cool earth grounding her as the weight of the encounter settled within her heart. A silence enveloped them, filled with whispers of nature and the distant call of night creatures, each sound a gentle reminder of life's rhythm. Her children still clung to her, their eyes shimmering with wonder, mirroring the spark igniting within her soul. "What does it mean, Mama?" her son asked again, a hint of awe in his voice. "It means we're on a journey, dear ones," she replied, her voice steady but soft. "A journey deeper into our own hearts." With that simple statement, a tide of warmth surged within her. Memories of doubt, regrets, and unfulfilled dreams began to surface. Yet she wasn't afraid. For somehow, in this sacred moment, she realized that every struggle was a thread in the tapestry of her existence, each color adding depth to her story. "Let's stand," she urged, rising and brushing off the damp earth from her knees. "We must walk together." Hand in hand, they turned away from the oak and began their trek through the lush grass, now glistening with the remnants of dew. The moon, high above, cast a soft glow, illuminating their steps. Each path they chose felt imbued with the wisdom of the figure, nudging them toward discovery. "Where are we going, Mama?" her daughter asked, tilting her head up and gazing at her with innocent curiosity. Grace paused, savoring the question. "To seek the answers we hold inside us," she replied, knowing in her spirit that each stride they took was a prayer woven into the night. As they walked, the cold breeze wrapped around them, a gentle reminder of the world outside their hearts, yet it beckoned them forward, towards the warmth of connection. In her mind, she recalled the figure's words. "In silence, you will find answers." Perhaps it was time to embrace stillness together, to listen, really listen. They reached a small clearing bathed in silver light, where the tall grass danced like waves in a serene ocean. Grace led her family to sit, legs crossed facing the vast night sky. The stars twinkled above, akin to countless souls sharing their stories from places beyond. "Close your eyes," she encouraged softly, as she did. "Breathe deeply. Let the worries of the day fade away." She felt the serenity wash over them like a soothing balm, each inhale sharing the cosmic breath of love, each exhale releasing doubt and fear. Time grasped them gently, held them still amidst the world's chaos. "Mama, I see colors," her son whispered, his voice laced with awe. "What do they look like?" She nudged gently, her heart swelling. "Like rainbows and sparkles and light," he exclaimed. Grace smiled, knowing that he was witnessing the essence of spiritual truth, all intertwined with their love. In that moment, she understood the figure's words about love as the roots binding them. As they lingered in this sacred stillness, Grace realized it was indeed a journey, a path not just of the exterior, but within. The transformation was already blooming in them, within each heartbeat united by faith, woven tight by the threads of understanding. Yet the next question loomed in her heart, a soft whisper threading through her thoughts. What happens when we dare to explore the depths of our faith? With eyes still closed and hearts open, they sat as one, embracing the unfolding mystery with wonder. Each breath taken was a step into the unknown, a testament to their shared journey ahead. Before long, the first light of dawn would break, yet for now, the night wrapped around them like a blanket, holding promises yet untold. What revelations awaited them in the morning light? As the first hints of dawn began to creep over the horizon, the world around them transformed gradually. A soft glow emerged, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. Grace breathed in the freshness of the morning air, her heart swelling with an inexplicable peace. The earth felt alive beneath them, each blade of grass a reminder of the resilience that adorned creation. "Mama, look!" her daughter exclaimed, pointing at the first rays of sunlight piercing through the trees. "It's beautiful," Grace agreed, captivated by the light cascading around them. "Just like each of us, we are all part of this wonder." A stillness lingered in the air, interwoven with a promise of new beginnings. It spoke to Grace in a familiar whisper, urging her to remember that they were not alone, that they were fragments of a greater tapestry woven by divine hands. And she felt the soft tug of the figure's wisdom resonate in her spirit once more. In solitude, there lies a sacred space for revelation. They sat together, soaking in the brightness that grew stronger with each passing moment. Grace watched her children, their faces illuminated by the dawn, innocence radiating from their very beings. She wished she could bottle this moment, but instead she let it flow through her, like a river of hope. "Do you feel that warmth inside, sweetheart?" she asked her daughter, who nodded, wide-eyed. "It feels like love." "Yes," Grace said, nearly breathless. "It's the love that surrounds us, and it's always there, waiting for us to notice it." As the sun fully broke free from the horizon, a flock of birds took to the sky, their calls echoing in a harmonious chorus. Grace smiled as the sound wrapped around them, and in that instant she perceived their voices as reflections of gratitude, each chirp a sacred acknowledgement of life's beauty. But with the dawning light came a question that flickered in her mind like a candle flame. What truths lie beyond our understanding? As she pondered this, she recalled the figure's visit and the questions etched in her soul, a journey seeking not just answers, but a deeper connection to the Creator. "Mama, will we always have this feeling?" her son asked, breaking Grace from her thoughts. "Yes, my love. If we nurture it," she replied earnestly. "By holding on to faith and embracing what lies within, we can find this every day, even when it feels lost." There was a sudden gust of wind, carrying with it an energy that danced around them. It was invigorating and alive, making Grace feel as though the universe had paused to listen. "Mama, the wind feels like a hug," her son grinned, arms stretching out wide. Grace chuckled softly, but considered how love encompasses all. "Exactly. It is God's way of telling us we are cherished," she said, wrapping her arms around her children as the wind embraced them. "And those whispers are timeless, just like the wisdom of those who walked before us." As she spoke, the first rays of the sun flooded the clearing, revealing small wildflowers peeking through the grass, vibrant and full of life. Grace's heart kicked with joy. She glimpsed in that small opening the miraculous lessons waiting to unfold. What if we could carry this light with us? She wondered out loud, savoring the idea of sharing their journey and love beyond this sacred space. What if they ventured out into the broader world to spread kindness, compassion, and understanding dictated by faith? With that thought, surrendering to the divine silence, a new possibility flickered in her heart, the realization that their journey had barely begun. What would they learn? What stories would shape their faith? As the warmth enveloped them, Grace felt a divine invitation. The moment of your collective transformation is approaching. But how and when would it manifest? The horizon was wide open, and she yearned to discover the answers hidden within the sunlight's embrace. As the sun climbed higher, washing the world in golden light, Grace felt a shift within her. The radiant morning was not just an awakening of day, but a stirring in her spirit. Something profound was at play, something waiting to unveil itself in the sacredness of their shared moment. "Mama," her daughter whispered, drawing her attention, "what are we going to do today?" There was an eagerness in her voice, an innocent curiosity brimming forth. With a gentle smile, Grace replied, "Today we will explore. There are wonders everywhere, and I want you to see them through the eyes of love." As they walked hand in hand, the grass yielding softly beneath their feet, a thought bloomed in Grace's heart. Love is more than a feeling. It is a movement, a way of living. She encouraged her children to collect pieces of nature, little treasures that spoke to them. "Look at this leaf," her son called excitedly, holding up a bright green gem, danced upon by sunlight. "It's like it was made just for me." "Exactly," Grace exclaimed. "Nature shows us how each detail is unique and cherished. Just like us, every leaf, flower, and creature has its purpose." The air was crisp and filled with a palpable energy. Pictures of grace and beauty unfolded around them, the trees whispering secrets, the flowers nodding their heads gently in agreement. In these moments, Grace could feel the presence of the divine woven into every detail, every breath. As they continued their exploration, they came across an old stone wall, mottled with lichen and adorned with climbing vines. Grace paused, sensing a deeper meaning. "Do you see how the vines cling tightly to the stones? They find their way even in the most unexpected places." Her daughter looked up, wide-eyed. "Like us, Mama, we can find our way too." "Exactly, sweetheart. It's our faith that leads us to new paths." A warmth swept through Grace, as if her thoughts were being seen and embraced. Suddenly, the air shifted, and she felt that divine invitation again, clearer this time. It whispered of lessons waiting to be learned, lessons shaped by moments of solitude and connection. As they turned to leave, a soft breeze brushed against their cheeks, carrying a fragrance that was both healing and comforting. Grace closed her eyes, letting the sensations wash over her. It was a reminder that they were never alone. Every breath they took was a connection to something grander. "Mama, do you think we can hear God in the wind?" her son asked, his eyes sparkling with wonder. "Oh, my love," she said, kneeling to meet his gaze. "God speaks to us in many ways, sometimes in the wind, sometimes in the stillness of our hearts. If we listen closely, we'll always find him." Each step away from the wall felt like a step deeper into their own journey. Grace could sense the inner transformation unfolding, not just for her, but for her children as well. Moments of quiet reflection would soon pave the way for clarity and revelation. "Let's carry these lessons with us," she murmured, looking at the wildflowers they had gathered, each one a reminder of the beauty born from resilience and love. With every passing hour, their hearts were ignited with purpose. What stories they could tell, what truths they could uncover. Grace felt the wind wrap around them gently, almost as if confirming the unfolding destiny of their lives. And as they ventured into the world, beyond their sacred space, ideas began to form, a flicker of hope ignited by the divine. Was there a greater calling ahead? As they set forth, Grace asked silently, "What if each experience holds a lesson waiting to be discovered?" Her heart quickened, excitement mingling with uncertainty. What awaited them in the vastness beyond? The possibility filled her with wonder. The horizon called out, richer than ever, and she was eager to find out what lessons were still to come. The path ahead opened up like a canvas, and each step seemed to stroke a new hue to the unfolding tapestry of their day. Grace led her children along, her heart a blend of excitement and serenity. She sensed the divine presence echoing in the whispers of the trees, as if nature itself was joining in their exploration. "Look at that butterfly!" her daughter exclaimed, pointing at a delicate creature fluttering past them, its wings sparkling like tiny stained glass in the sunlight. "It's so beautiful." Grace smiled at the wonder in her daughter's eyes, her own heart echoing that joy. "Just like you, sweetheart. Isn't it amazing how each butterfly is unique? They remind us of our own beauty within and the transformations we undergo." Her son bent down to touch a flower, its petals soft against his fingers. "Why does it open up like that, Mama?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine curiosity. "It opens to greet the sun and embrace the light," Grace replied thoughtfully. "And like this flower, we too must learn to open ourselves to the light of love and grace that surrounds us." As they continued on their journey, the sun shifted, casting playful shadows that danced along the ground. Grace felt the warmth wrap around them like an embrace. It was as if every moment held a promise from the universe, urging her to embrace it. Then, as they approached a brook that babbled sweetly nearby, a sudden wave of clarity washed over her. It was a place where water met stone, where gentle persistence carved a path, much like faith. "Listen to the water," she said, kneeling beside them. "Can you hear how it flows effortlessly, overcoming every obstacle in its way? We can learn from it too." "Yes, Mama," her son exclaimed. "It goes around the rocks instead of stopping." Exactly. It teaches us that when faced with challenges, we can either try to push hard against them or find a way to flow around them, guided by faith. They sat together by the water's edge, and Grace felt an awakening in her spirit. It struck her that perhaps today was not just about seeing the wonders around them, but about awakening to the wonders within themselves. With a heart full of purpose, she gently encouraged them to close their eyes and take deep breaths. Let's listen to what our hearts are saying. What do they feel? What do they see? In the silence that followed, Grace found her own breath aligning with theirs. Each inhale filled her with love, and each exhale released a gentle worry. What had once seemed like mere words was becoming a profound connectedness. "Mama," her daughter whispered softly after a moment, "I think I can feel God here, right with us." Tears of joy brimmed in Grace's eyes at her daughter's realization. "Yes, dear heart, He's here, alive in every moment, every sound, every stillness." The day continued to unfold like a beautiful blessing as they shared laughter and stories, joy and sweet revelations. Yet deep within Grace, the question lingered, reverberating gently. What other miracles awaited them? What lessons still lay hidden beneath the surface of daily life, waiting to be revealed when they sought to connect deeply? As they rose to leave, a twinkle of excitement flashed in Grace's heart. Beyond the brook and flowers, what more would each turn in life teach them? What if the greatest transformations came not from grand events, but in embracing the sacredness embedded in simple moments? And so they walked on, the sun dipping low, illuminating the path ahead with a sacred glow, drawing them closer to divine mysteries yet to unfold. As the day wore on, the golden sun began its descent, casting a warm embrace over the landscape. Grace felt a divine serenity filling the air, wrapping her family in an invisible blanket of promises fulfilled and lessons yet to come. Each step she took resonated with new hope, igniting her spirit and revealing the tapestry of interconnectedness that spooled through the very fabric of their lives. "Mama, can you tell me more about the butterfly?" her daughter asked, her voice beaming with innocence. "And how it became so beautiful?" Grace knelt beside her, the grass cool beneath her knees. "The butterfly begins as a simple caterpillar, hidden from the world. It must face darkness in a cocoon, transforming within before it can emerge in beauty. Just like us, Sometimes we do not see the changes happening inside when we are going through tough times, but those times are essential for our flight into something wonderful. Her daughter's eyes sparkled, comprehension dawning in delicate waves. So, we're like butterflies. Exactly, my love. We all have the ability to break free from our past, spread our wings, and trust in the light that guides us. Grace stood, lifting her arms wide, embracing the vastness around her. And remember that each day brings us new chances to grow, just as the world evolves around us. As they continued their journey, Grace led her children to a glade where trees stood solemn and proud, their branches lowering in embrace. In this sacred circle, she felt an overwhelming presence, a stillness resonating like a heartbeat beneath the ground. "Mama, it's so quiet here," her son remarked softly, the awe evident in his voice. "I can hear everything." "Good. Listen closely," Grace whispered, her heart fluttering with revelation. "In this silence, we can tap into a deeper knowledge. It's here, in stillness, that God can speak." They sat together beneath the canopy, surrounded by a vibrant orchestra of life, a gentle rustling of leaves and the soft chirp of crickets weaving through the air. Grace invited her children to close their eyes once more, and together they breathed deeply, synchronizing their spirits in quiet communion. In every inhale they cultivated patience, in every exhale they released doubt. As they basked in this moment, a gentle breeze caressed them, a whisper from the heavens. Grace felt the warmth of connection surge within, and she envisioned her beloved village, the hearts that had united in prayer, pouring their hopes and fears into the fabric of the universe. "Mama," her son murmured, breaking the silence, "I think we're part of something really big." "Yes," Grace smiled, feeling tears prick at her eyes. "We are. Our love, our prayers, they joined together in a magnificent way." The divine presence wrapped them with an overwhelming sense of unity, affirming that their collective awakening was intertwined. A transformed Grace, emboldened by the lessons of solitude, began to see echoes of her own journey reflected in the world around her. Emerging from the glade, they walked towards the village, where warm lights flickered in the homes like stars sprouting from the earth. Grace's heart raced, hope blossoming within her with each tentative step back into the world from the sacred space of reflection. "Let's share what we've learned, what we've felt," she declared, determination surging through her veins. "There's beauty in our stories, and they hold the depth to inspire others." As they returned to their home, Grace realized that peace resided not just in the intimate connection of solitude, but also in community. Hand in hand, her children by her side, they radiated the love nurtured in the sacred moments, ready to spread their newfound light and grace through every story shared, every smile exchanged. Her heart warmed, and gratitude flooded her being. They had come full circle, from despair to dawn, each challenge surmountable by the unwavering patterns of love and faith. Grace looked into her children's eyes, reflecting the brilliance of the universe around them. So many miraculous lessons awaited, the adventures to embrace, the connections to cultivate, and the courage to persevere. Yet toning through her mind was one last whisper. Your faith is a seed. Plant it, nurture it, and it will flourish beyond imagination. That night, as they lay down to sleep, the lessons remained steeped in her mind, swimming in vibrant colors, each one a thread of light in the greater tapestry of their lives. A quiet resolve filled Grace as she understood that faith would be painted into every experience, a living testament to the beauty they could manifest together. In the stillness, she felt God's presence, the gentle whisper weaving through her soul. This journey was only just beginning. And now, dear brothers and sisters, you need to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you do not miss the next exclusive faith stories that will uplift your spirit. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, showing your support for these divine messages. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about the ending. it's time to share your story too. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Let them discover the light within and the power of faith. Together, let's spread this divine truth far and wide.